7th grade was the year that I moved from Flushing, Queens, one of the most diverse places in America, to a suburban, all-white neighborhood in California, very middle class. And it was 7th grade, it was the middle of the school year, and I started life there. And I think things that happen to you at that stage, they stay with you forever. They define a lot of how you see the world. It's a stage where your heart is like a sponge. And so I love writing for that age. I think I was formed very strongly at that age for story and for the way I view the world. And I think it's a very open-minded, open-hearted time when stories can go almost bypass all the barriers and blocks we have as adults and go right to the heart. It's a brief window that a teacher has with a child's heart. And if they are not broadening that child's heart by introducing not just different ethnicities, but different stories about kids from different classes, just stories that are about people that are very different than the kid that they're trying to educate, it's really a waste. It's a waste of that time. It's a waste of that time in life when your heart is like a sponge and your mind is ready for it. So it feels like a very crucial time when children could be introduced to a wide range of people and places. And I know that I did as a child. I traveled so far and wide through stories. I got to know so many different people from all different venues of life through stories. And we didn't have the money to travel and get to know all these people, but I did it through stories. And every child has that opportunity, really only once. By the time they get to the upper high school, they're so busy with college and applications, and then college hits, and fiction really takes the back burner. So I feel like from all the way from kindergarten to about 8th grade, it's a crucial time to feed them with stories, to nourish them with stories, to build their imaginations. And if you can imagine traveling to the Burmese border with 2 boys that you've come to see as friends, your imagination is strengthened. That muscle will never go back to the same as it was. You'll always be able to travel that far. So it's a really important time to include a lot of different stories in the mix. Although in this day and age, with all the tensions that we have in the Middle East and South Asia and other places, perhaps realizing for a child to realize I'm connected to a character like Toure or Chico or Naima or any of my other characters that are South Asian. I have a strong connection with this person. They're almost like my friend. You never read the news the same again, all through your adult years, when you've made a friend as a child with character. It's a very global world. We have connections all over the place. We're connected through the internet, we're connected through trade, we're connected through business, we're connected through travel and transport and news, and it's very difficult to lead an insular life. And so, as I said before, one of the most powerful ways to open up people's hearts and minds is through stories, and to make the global connections that kids are going to need for the rest of their lives. The people they're working with, and whether they're managing or working with some company that's half in the Philippines and half in Africa or in Nigeria, there's going to be these global connections for this generation, and they're going to have to succeed. And so if you cross borders in story first, not only is it a safe way to go, because you're in the safety of your home, crossing borders with your imagination, it prepares you for a life of global interactions, which I think kids are going to need to succeed. I like to talk about stories having windows and mirrors for every kid. For every story has that. So yes, an Indian girl growing up in California is going to see herself reflected in the Sunita experiment as a mirror. But a girl who's just struggling with having her grandparents come in a relationship with her grandparents is also going to see herself reflected in that story. And yet it's going to throw open a window into Indian culture for both of them. So I think to say that my books are just for Indian kids would be very limiting to me. So I'm hesitant to do that. On the other hand, to have an Indian girl write me and say, I loved your story, I saw myself in it, and for the first time I saw an Indian girl on the cover, and it was just thrilling to me to be represented. That's exciting. When students are using social media, it's a very powerful place to write. And when we were kids, the only venues we had to write really were class papers or forced thank you notes, or maybe if we were lucky, a journal. But those of us that did that were very peripheral. Nowadays, the bulk of kids, whether or not they're good writers in school, are writing. They're communicating through their Facebook status updates, through their tweets, their Tumblr accounts, their texts, and they really are using the power of written word to communicate all kinds of strong emotions. They're discovering that writing can build up, can tear down, can make you laugh, can make you cry, and they're doing that all through a very safe venue for making mistakes and then finding out later that wasn't perhaps the way to use words. So it is an exciting time for writing through the power of social media for teenagers. It is very exciting to see kids interacting around my stories in classrooms and sending me emails and notes. I think because I'm so accessible online, I have a Facebook page, I answer all my email from kids, I'm on Twitter. They contact me and they find me on Facebook, and I'm getting notes from all over the world now from kids who are introduced to my stories mostly through classrooms. My books are not in chain bookstores. They're not getting, like I said, maybe if I wrote some kind of gothic, ghostly, Icelandic thriller, I might reach a wider range of kids without relying on educators. But educators are the way that the kids meet my characters. And so it's very exciting. I know that kids are being introduced to my characters, and hopefully, though, they're loving the story, and maybe there's something that's making them laugh or making them cry, and they're thinking, well, this isn't so bad, being forced to read the story. And I know that's happened once they find me on Facebook apart from the classroom, and they make that connection, or they send me a little note. Those I treasure, because I know that they've made the leap from a homework assignment to connecting with the story and really loving it enough to reach out to the author.